Good evening, evening, evening. It is Dionne Rashad here on this wonderful webinar Wednesday. Tonight we're going to jump back into the Scrum Master role, explaining everything as it relates to a Scrum Master. Our plan tonight is to talk about what it actually takes to be a Scrum Master, the 5 Scrum events, PI planning explained, career certifications, job opportunities, as well as a Q&A session. A little bit about me. So my name is Dionne Rashad, and I am the owner of KDMJ Solutions. I am a woman-owned business. I have had an opportunity to create what I call the Agile Career Academy, an academy that helps you to understand what it is to be a Scrum Master, help you to get your certification, as well as take you through the activities of what it takes to be a successful Scrum Master. Now, when you look at being a Scrum Master, there are several different certifications, which we'll go into tonight. I have a lot of those certifications, but my plan was to take what I know and what I've been doing for years and be able to help other individuals who are looking to change careers, enhance their careers, or become an even better Scrum Master or grow in the Agile space. Let's dive into what a Scrum Master actually is. Now, a Scrum Master does not have the responsibility of a leader. And what I mean by that is that a Scrum Master, they don't have anyone assigned to them as it relates to employees. As far as holding people accountable, they have a unique way of doing it, but it's not a direct conversation that relates to disciplinary action for someone who has direct reports. So a Scrum Master is not a project manager also. So let's jump into the servant leadership piece of this for what a Scrum Master really and truly is. What a Scrum Master does is they're a servant leader. And servant leadership explained simply is just putting others in front of yourself, helping the team with any impediments. Impediments being any problems or challenges that the team may be having in order to complete their work. These are the things in which a Scrum Master does. Remove those blockers, create a culture and an environment and a team that works harmoniously together. And then, of course, a Scrum Master is a cheerleader for the team. The Scrum Master is accountable for the team's performance, how the team will be able to complete work during the sprint or the iteration. Being able to have conversation is another accountability item that the Scrum Master has when it comes to talking to the product owner and working with the product owner. And then, of course, the organization that individual works with is looking for that Scrum Master to be able to provide results, to help drive toward an organization's vision and purpose. All right. So now we have 5 Scrum events. I'm going to talk about the Scrum events, first of all, as a certified Scrum Master. As a certified Scrum Master, the teachings speak of sprints. So you have sprint planning. Sprint planning, you have daily scrums, you have sprint reviews, sprint retrospectives, as well as the actual sprint itself. The actual sprint itself ranges anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. Most organizations that I've worked for before, their sprints are 2 weeks. The sprint retrospective happens at the very end of the sprint. That's where a Scrum Master will bring the team together and be able to talk about what did we do well, what did we not do well, and how can we improve going forward. In the past, I started out with an hour session only to realize that the teams that I worked with had become so mature until a 30-minute session was long enough for us to be able to have that conversation for the retrospective. Now, the sprint review is a demonstration of the work that's taken place during that particular sprint. So normally I would bring in all of my stakeholders, I would bring in product owners or anyone impacted by the changes that we were making. And then the team would jump in and demonstrate all the work that we've completed for that particular time period. I really enjoy daily scrums. Daily scrums are where you have an opportunity to see exactly where the team is on the work that they committed for during those 2 weeks. You know, asking everyone, what did you do yesterday? What are you going to work on today? And do you have any impediments? It's not to be voiced or given almost like in a status call. It's more really and truly listening to each person on your team to say, what did they work on yesterday? Did it take them too long? Did they not have enough time? What's that individual gonna work on today? Okay, as a scrum master, now I'm thinking, will they be able to finish this work and pass this work forward before the end of the sprint? Those are the things in which I'm looking for if I'm a scrum master during my daily scrum, so I can help the team move forward as it relates to our sprint goal. These daily stand-ups normally take place every day. I would have my daily stand-ups every day at the same time, whether they were in person or virtually. I would give the opportunity to the team to have a rotation basis. You know, sometimes I would call everyone by name, and sometimes I would ask people to jump in. It worked both ways. So it's going to depend upon how your team is structured and how your team is to see exactly what's going to work for you. For sprint planning, um, the features and the epics are given to the team. And from there, the team really talks about how that work is going to be completed next PI. You're planning out the work. The product owner has a backlog, and that product owner has determined the order of work for that particular time period. Now, let's move forward and see what it takes to be a safe Scrum Master. Certification for a safe Scrum Master is pretty much the same as a certified Scrum Master. However, the language is different. The language now changes from sprints to iterations. So you have iteration planning, which is the same as sprint planning. You have the daily stand up, which is the same as your daily opportunities with the team before. Still 15 minutes, still everybody coming together, talking about the work that they did yesterday, what they're going to do today, if there's any impediments. You have an iteration review, which is your demo, where you bring in your stakeholders, your product owner, anyone impacted by the work that was going to be completed for that period of time. Then you have your sprint review, or you're really done your iteration review. And your iteration review is the same as before. You're talking about what did you do well, what can you improve on, and how you can move forward. And then, of course, the last portion of this is the iteration itself. And like this, it can last anywhere 2 to 4 weeks. It depends again upon the organization, but most organizations that I've seen worked with, their iteration sprints are 2 weeks. Now, with a safe Scrum Master, there are three additional ceremonies that are not included for a certified Scrum Master. And when I say not included for a certified Scrum Master, this type of content and this training for these three ceremonies is not included in your CSM training. The first certification is the program increment planning, and we're actually going to dive into tonight, yeah, and what are the responsibilities of a Scrum Master during that. The second ceremony for a Scrum Master that's not normally for CPM would be the inspect and adapt. Gives you an opportunity for an entire to display all of the work that's been done over for that time period. And then, of course, the last ceremony is the system demo. All right, the good PI plan explain. I had an opportunity earlier in the week to talk with someone that I've been coaching, and the individual asked for more information about PI planning. This was the first PI planning session, and they weren't really walking into PI planning. So what So I'll read to you here. It says it's a cadence-based, face-to-face event that brings everyone together for the Agile release train. You bring them together and you align upon a mission and a vision for that set period of time. For PI planning can be done virtually, and PI planning can be performed face to face. PI planning is an event where you can have anywhere from 50 people to 250 people. So for a Scrum Master, knowing what their responsibility is going to be important. These PI planning sessions are normally held anywhere between every 8 to 12 weeks. And um, that's where your new program increment starts. The duration is for 4 days, 2 full days. So either if you're in person, you're normally in a facility, a massive conference room, or maybe even a hotel, if the organization cannot house everyone in one area. But for 2 days, you're locked in and you're talking about the work that's going to take place over the next the output for PI planning is that you commit with the team and with the program on the objectives, the known risk, and the deliverables that you are going to provide during that PI. The format, like I said before, it can either be in person or hybrid. It just depends upon the space and the availability. Now, here's the good part. Over these next 2 days, there are different activities that take place. So imagine that you're a Scrum Master. This is your first PI planning. You have no idea what to expect. Been there, done it. The first day, you have 6 events that take place that are extremely important. The first event that takes place is your business context. You'll have a business owner that'll come in, and the business owner is going to describe the business context for the PI planning. Now, what the Scrum Master is doing, the Scrum Master is basically taking this business language that's being and converting it into concrete and actionable context for the team. The second activity that takes place is the product solution vision. Now, here your product manager presents the product vision and also presents the top features that are going to be worked on for that particular PI. Now, again, the Scrum Master is actively listening to any constraints or priorities that may affect the team as the product and solution vision are given. The third activity is the architecture vision. Now, here you'll have the system architect present the architect vision and the dev practices. The Scrum Master during this time period helps the team to capture any open questions that they're going to want answered during their later breakout sessions. Now, for the business context, the architecture vision, as well as the product solution, the activities that I've explained for the Scrum Master should happen. Let's just say the Scrum Master should be able to translate the business language, help the team capture open questions, as well as actively listen to constraints in each one of these sessions, because it's going to be important in the step number 4 where they go into the breakout room. Now, in a breakout room, if you're virtual, everyone will have a bridge line. You'll join the bridge line. The team will be there. If you are located in a facility altogether, then of course you'll huddle around a table. Now, during the breakout session, it's important for the Scrum Master to time box conversations that may seem lengthy, cut off conversations that may not be necessary at the time, but more ensure that the team is taken care of during the time period, meaning that they have sufficient time for lunch, enough time for breaks, but then also have an opportunity where we look at, from a Scrum Master perspective, and communicate to the team the load and capacity. The load and capacity for the team can be, I want to say, at the beginning of the PI. And I say eyeball because in order to make the capacity and the load portion of the breakout session go a lot faster for me, I would normally talk to the team members a week before PI planning just to see, do you have any days scheduled off? Is there a holiday coming during this particular PI? I would even ask, are you dedicated to the team during this PI? And if not, what's your percentage that you're going to be able to help the team? From there, I would pretty much walk into PI planning with a solid capacity plan. Now, the load is going to be based off of how much the team decides to take on during that particular iteration. So if your load is 30 and your capacity is 30, you have no wiggle room as it relates for bringing in additional work or having work that has problems, because that means that you're now going to have more work than you have people. But if your capacity is 20 and your load is 15, you have an opportunity as a team now to be able to take on more work if necessary during that iteration. Another another uh, event, another way in which the Scrum Master helps during PI planning is that they keep the team again moving with those time boxes. They make sure that the team is able to grab lunch and things of that nature, like I said before. And then the Scrum Master begins to coach the team on a draft plan. Because what's going to happen is toward the end of the day, the Scrum Master and the team is going to have an opportunity to present to everyone that's on that Agile release train what their plan is going to be for this particular PI. Normally, your Scrum Master has this conversation. They'll stand up or go on camera if you're hybrid and be able to say, hey, for this particular PI and walk through each iteration. I would normally start out with the capacity and load. And if my capacity and load are equal, I call that out. If my capacity and load was, we've loaded our work and we have capacity, I would be able to explain why that's the case. And then be able to talk about any of the dependencies that you may have on teams that are present at PI planning or teams that are not present at PI planning. The Scrum Master is also responsible during the breakout sessions to join Scrum of Scrums. In my experience, Scrum of Scrums happen every hour at the top of the hour. Your release train engineer is asking, hey, do you guys have any major issues? Are you on track for being able to provide us a plan at the end of the day? All right, now we jump into the draft plan. Another task, like I said before, is the responsibility of the Scrum Master. The Scrum Master comes in, presents exactly what the team is going to work on, identify and call out any of the risk or issues that may be present. I'm sorry, I'm looking at my, and then they present many constraints or problems that you may have. So then we have the last item, which is management problem solving. At the very end, the leadership, your product manager, your program manager, your stakeholders, your scrum masters, engineers, attend the meeting, and it's the problem solving meeting. They're your sponsors, your stakeholders are going to say thumbs up or thumbs down to what they've heard so far. They're going to make recommendations by team. And then from there, they're going to be able to let you know where they need to see changes the next day. The day is ended, all is done, and now we go to day two. For day two, it's a little different. Day two, the meeting opens up, PI planning opens up with an adjustment. Now your leadership takes the realm, your stakeholders, your product and program, your not your product owner, but your product manager speaks to everyone on the art. Team by team, they'll explain where they agree with the plan and where changes need to be made. Now, for the Scrum Master is capturing all of these changes so that they can take it back for day two for the breakout. Now, once all the conversations are held and all the teams are advised how to make the changes or the changes that need to be made, now you go to the second breakout session. And again, the Scrum Master is still guiding the team, time boxing, going to Scrum of Scrums, adjusting the load and capacity as needed as work is being moved around. But even more than that, the Scrum Master is communicating, hey, here are the adjustments that we need to make to our current plan. The third activity that transpires on day two is the final plan review. And this is where each team presents their plans, their objectives, and their risks. The Scrum Master presents this plan and explains the objectives and calls out any with the team and talks about the objectives that the team is going to achieve during this particular PI. Once the final review plan is done, now the program risk is going to ROM the board. ROM meaning they're going to look at all the risks that have been identified. And during this time period, in person, normally they'll ask the team to write it on a little Post-it note, all the risks that they have, and they'll place them on one side of the board. If you are virtual, the same activity transpires, but normally the Post-it notes are in Miro. Now you have an opportunity to take that risk and identify, is that risk resolved, owned, accepted, or mitigated? Your release training engineer normally facilitates this activity. The release training engineer will read out that risk and ask, is it resolved? Is it owned? Is it mitigated? Is it accepted? The Scrum Master participates, but more or less the entire art participates as well, because people will be vocal about what a risk could or could not be. The fifth activity is the vote of confidence, and the release training engineer is asking, based upon the work that we've planned, based upon our load and capacity, based upon the time period that we have, based upon how we've resolved our risk, fist to five, how confident are you? The Scrum Master should have already had a conversation with the team before walking into this activity so everyone's on the same page. The final activity that takes place on day two is retrospective and moving forward. The Scrum Master supports the release training engineer. Now, from an art perspective, everyone's doing the same thing that you normally do in in your iteration retrospective. It's just on a larger scale. And you're asking the entire art, what did we do well? What did we not do well? And how can we improve moving forward? And those changes are made. All right, let's jump into let's jump into what if your RTE insists on loading? Well, I'll say this, Samantha. If if you're being asked, and let me just go back a slide, whether it's day one or whether it's day two, and you're being asked to load at 100%, if I am a Scrum Master, I am explaining that we are loading at 100% capacity. Our capacity is 30, our load is 30. We have absolutely no wiggle room at all. So if John gets sick, we're in trouble because we are at risk of not being able to complete our work. And I want to call that out at the beginning. So hopefully that answers your question. I'll keep trying to look at the chat to see if there's any other questions that come through. But thank you for that question. All right. I am going to move forward with the career certifications and open jobs. For the career path of a Scrum Master, whether it's a certified Scrum Master or safe Scrum Master, your next step would be to become a release train engineer. A release train engineer facilitates the Agile release train. The release train engineer partners with product and program managers, and at times even work directly with stakeholders. I did as a release train engineer and worked with stakeholders just to ensure the work that we were going to work on for that PI was nailed down, solidified, confirmed, in line with the vision for the organization. Once you've completed an RTE role, then my recommendation would be to become a safe program consultant. Now you're helping organizations implement scale across the organization and not just with one team. The various certifications that you can obtain from a Scrum Master perspective is the CSM. It's a 2-day course that you take through Scrum Alliance. You have an opportunity with a CSM, person or hybrid. It just kind of depends upon what your is. It's a good entry point. I would say that it's a very good entry point for someone who's new to the framework. Once you have taken the 2-day course, then you'll get access to the exam. The PS is a professional Scrum Master certification. It is given through scrum.org. It is a more complicated exam. It is respected, but you don't have a renewal on a PSM because once you've passed the exam, you're in. You don't have to. Your certification does not expire. Is what I want to say. For the Safe Scrum Master, it is delivered scaled agile, and it talks more about the large scale projects that you're going to be involved in from a master perspective. I personally like the SSM because you have an opportunity to, as an SSM, you have an opportunity to go through simulations, PI planning, and you have an opportunity to work on various ceremonies during the certification. Now I want to turn and look at job postings, and I like this part of the webinar. All right. So I am going to pull the position here that is at the top, and that is the Principal Scrum Master Lead IT at American Airlines. Now, let me add that none of these companies are sponsoring me for this particular video, but I'm doing it because I want to show you, how to go in, how to look for the position, and how to prepare for it. So the here is the Principal Scrum Master Lead. Here's telling us a little bit about the job. Um, I like here that they're talking about high performing, dedicated product and technical excellence. When I read a line like that, why you love the job, when I read that line, that tells me that they have high performing teams, and it tells me that they have dedicated teams to a product, which means for Scrum Master, when you're designing and identifying the work that you're going to do for a particular PI, that tells me that your team is going to be prepared, knowledgeable about the work, but then also I'm not sharing my resources for this team with anyone else. And if I am, it's going to be limited. All right, let's keep going. So they're looking for someone to be able to optimize the flow of value, generation ideas release. Okay. When I read a line like that and I want to respond to it via my resume, I will place on my resume that I've optimized the flow, the value flow for a team. And I just leave it at that because optimize to me is a keyword as well as flow of value being keywords to be recognized on your resume. Coaching teams, you want to have that listed on your resume. Um, and you want to be able to have a couple of examples of how you've coached teams for particular ways in which you uh, I'm looking at the screen for so forgive me. So you reduce the work and you waste in progress. When I look at this line here, immediately I think about an example where I coached a team that was a low performing team, and consistently they were not able to complete work iteration over iteration. And so, based upon the reports that I pulled out of JIRA, I was able to go back and identify that it was primarily two people who were impacting the overall numbers of the team, where I had an opportunity to talk to them, explain to them I needed a better performance of them over the next couple of iterations so that I would be able to, and the team would be able to perform at a higher rate. Having those conversations, they were able to make the change. So that would be an example that I would give for this particular job posting um, during the interview, but I would put on my resume that I coached high performing as well as low performing teams. All right. So the minimum qualifications, they're looking for a bachelor's degree, 5 years of experience. And I've said time and time again that without the 5 years of experience as a Scrum Master, I still apply. If you've worked as a project manager before, then you should hopefully have some experience in an agile environment. But I would say if you don't have those 5 years of Scrum Master or agile environment uh, skills, I would still apply for the job. All right, here it says 9 years of relative work experience in an agile environment. I would still apply. They're flexible as it relates to the type of certification that they're looking for. They're okay with you having a CSM, a PSM1, or an SSM. They'd like you to have professional experience with Scrum and Kanban, the professional flow metrics of work. So not a bad position. And of course you get some perks of working with American Airlines with flight benefits, things of that nature. So that would be a good one to work for. Now, when you're looking at this job, one of the recommendations I would also make is that you glass door and enter the name of the company and the pay for these particular positions. Because in my research and in my previous experience, I have to say that Glassdoor is really accurate. Again, not being sponsored by Glassdoor, but I will tell you that their information is pretty accurate. Um, let's look at this Scrum Master position here. And this Scrum Master position is at it's hybrid. Let's see if it's different than the American Airlines job. No, I'm not getting a lot of information on this one. Click more here. Here's a summary. Now, I like this one because now they're asking specifically stand-ups for retrospective. They're asking you about the various ceremonies. So in this case, you make sure if you're applying for this job that you have examples of various ceremonies that you've ran before. You want to even identify which one is your favorite ceremony and why. I've had that question asked before, so make sure you have an answer for that. Here, just understanding the framework and principles. They're looking for you to be a strong facilitator, being able to resolve conflict, coaching team, just basically the things in which you need to be a successful Scrum Master. Here, they're not asking for a college degree, but they do want you to have a high school diploma. And again, they're asking for a variety of different Scrum Master certifications. And then the years here is 10 years. Like I said, I would still apply. I always apply, even if I don't have the necessary years, because I've received positions and was able to get positions before not having all the years. All right, let me stop sharing my screen and we'll move forward. All right. All right. I am opening it up and looking at the chat to see if I have any additional questions that are coming through so that I will answer any of those questions that you may have. All right. Let me tell you what we offer here at KDMJ Solutions. Here at KDMJ Solutions, we work with you on getting safe Scrum Master certification, your SSM. The cost for the exam is $800. It's a 2-day exam, back-to-back days, where we sit down and we go through all of the safe um, Scrum Master training. Once you're actually done with the 2-day training, then you have an opportunity to take the exam. Once you pass the exam, then you are certified until the following year. And the cost to recertify is $100 with your scaled agile. Once you decide to become certified as a Scrum Master, then What we also do is give you access to uh, scaled agile. You'll have your own portal where you'll have access to go back in and additional content, all of the slides and material that we go through. You'll have access to that as well. The second product that we offer here at KDMJ Solutions is the Scrum Master Training plus the workbook. And what I mean by that, you have the Scrum Master certification that I just explained, but now you will also be able to have access to the Agile Career Academy workbook. You'll have the interview workbook and the material that's there. Now, we decided to offer this product because there are some who can actually learn and apply the information that's needed. Finally, we have the Agile Career Academy. The Agile Career Academy is a 5-week program. The 5-week program is designed like this. Week one, our focus is the safe Scrum Master certification. You gain the training, you're good to go. Week two, we take you through the interview simulator. We have an interview simulator that um, interviews you at 5 different levels. It starts out with easy questions and it gets harder and harder as you get up to level 5. Level 6, now we have an AI agent that interviews you for the Scrum Master role. You get scored as well. Now, during this time period, you have access to the simulator, but we come together as a group, and what we do is uh, we actually do live interviews where I'm asking various questions, coaching you on how to answer the questions that are going to be given to you when you're applying for these positions. Um, Week 3 is even more of the hands-on coaching. Week 3, we're going through various ceremonies for a safe Scrum Master, what you're going to experience in a daily, what you're going to experience in a review, how to engage teams want to engage your your retrospective, how to be able to work with your release train engineer and your product owner to make it beneficial for the team. The fourth week, we're working on your resume and your LinkedIn profile. We're looking at what are your transferable skills. How can you explain your transferable skills if you've never held a formal Scrum Master title? And then week 5, we've got the job search. We're going through looking at jobs, posting jobs in our group chat saying, hey, this job is available. It's hybrid. It's in June. Or, hey, this job is available, Bill. It's in your area as well. Or even be able to say, Sean, this job is remote. I know you talked about wanting to work remote. Go ahead and apply for this job. It came out yesterday. These are the QR codes for either the Agile Career Academy, the Safe Scrum Master custom workbook, or the Safe Scrum Master certification. Now, I'm going to tell you, like I told someone else the other day, and I told someone this yesterday, as a matter of fact, do not waste money that your organization may offer you for tuition reimbursement. Companies offer tuition reimbursement year over year, and employees don't use it. In a conversation that I had with a lady, she said that she thought it was just something that was offered when she first started with the company. And she'd been with the company over 8 years and never leveraged tuition reimbursement. Tuition reimbursement ranges by the organization. In her case, it was $7,500. So $7,500 times 18 years, she left $135,000 worth of free training on the table. You know, when an organization is giving you an opportunity to grow you, take those certifications seriously because within that 15 years, I can only imagine had she used that, um, had she used the, training to do something different, her opportunity to grow and develop with the organization would have just been, oh my gosh, it's great. But like I said, in most cases, just make sure you use it. Whether you use it for the Scrum Master certification or you use it for something different, leverage the certifications. I'm sorry, leverage the certifications to grow you and leverage the money that your organization is giving you to do it. Thank you for attending.